Today I am going to be working on paths, a little bit of the barn's interior, and a couple of animal pastures. If you have not come across my channel before, this is the second part in a build with me / long play series for this particular Enshrouded build. In the first video we built a cozy barn block by block, and it will be one of not necessarily the center points of the farm as the altar dictates where the center is, but it is one of the main big builds. I will leave a link in the description. The previous video, in case you haven't watched it and you would like to see the block by block process as I built the barn. And we will get into basically what I am doing here. So originally you might have seen me just go straight in and try to do the paths, and I have now decided I'm going to plan it out block by block. I have basically a simple template that I use for all my Minecraft and Hytale builds to make more interesting roads. So I don't have to think too hard about it. So majority of this block by block process is just me following that. Don't worry about the fact that I'm adding 2 sides in areas. That doesn't matter because I'm not going to go through and place the actual paths by block. I could, but even for me that's a little bit too tedious. The rough outline is just going to be planned out block by block, so I sort of know where my paths are gonna go. It's completely fine and probably better to just freehand this process. I just find the terrain tools very annoying to work with in Enshrouded, especially the rake. The rake genuinely drives me insane. So I will probably take an approach to this terrain later on, more like you take the approach to Minecraft or even Hytale terrain, and using the build hammer more as a substitute for world edit or axiom, as I genuinely love how the terrain looks in Enshrouded. It looks wonderful. It sucks to try and work with. I have tried to remove all the parts of me tabbing out. If you see a flash of like the escape menu, I do apologize. I did attempt to remove it all. But sometimes I have messed up apparently. This video is, I'm not gonna skirt around it, it's pretty badly edited. A lot of my videos are, and I always add the voiceover afterwards, as I tend to forget to talk whilst I'm building. But I hope you guys will enjoy this anyway. A lot of the process will just be ramblings about nothing. But yeah. So, actually what I did for planning the paths and roads in this specific context is I went into my Hytale world and just started counting blocks, as I didn't really want to think, and yeah, I think it turned out really well. Obviously right now it's very blocky. Thanks to me using the white block, it's really going to stand out when sometimes I stand back, I take a minute, I have a look at what's happening. But you won't see the real path, like, I guess, pathiness of this project till about, like, I think an hour, maybe even 30 minutes into this video, you'll really see the concept start to come alive. Right now, we're in the trust me bro process, which is the most terrifying part of the process, and not even I can trust myself that hard. A lot of the time I tend to go, no. But because I've done this process in Minecraft and Hytale before, I vaguely know how it's going to turn out, and it will look good enough for my standards. Maybe it doesn't reach your standards, and that's okay. Other people's building standards shouldn't dictate your own. I take the Minecraft and Hytale types of building methods into Enshrouded, and that's what I like doing. I find it really relaxing, whilst a lot of people are going to look at my process and go, that's really tedious, why the hell would I ever do that? A lot of my friends, when I play with them in Enshrouded, are like, what is wrong with you? And they're not necessarily wrong, but it's very easy. Something I actually noticed about the original roadblock that I come into interact with later in the video is you can actually getting rid of the, so you can place other terrain blocks where the path used to be, and if you don't destroy basically the non-visible part, so the block above where you think the road block is, it just prints over the terrain block, and it was actually a little bit annoying in the center of my barn because I couldn't work out what was doing it. So I believe my barn currently has holes that the animals can TP into, but with 1.0 release, these should be fixed anyway. I don't believe they will ever fully be fixed. There's reasonings for why this bug happens, and it is a lot of the time it's your animal managed to stuck itself to begin with. So that might end up being a problem later on that I have to fix or ignore. But yeah. So what I am doing right now is basically I'm trying to make curving paths. And I have a little image that I work from that shows off like 90-degree curves. This is like, you can find it on Google in like 2 seconds. And it's originally for Minecraft, but it works for Hytale, and I think based off the end results of this build, it works pretty well for Enshrouded as well. In Enshrouded, it's going to be a bit differently, unless if you really want some tight paths and stuff like that, which in some cases you do. But when I'm working with terrain blocks, I like to, it's the only case where I like to use the build tools because I find them so ungodly painful to work with. And this is coming from a person who places roof blocks one by one by hand, and that's how I get some very interesting, unique looking roofs that are also a little bit scuffed. The reason for planning out the paths now is because naturally during the pathing process you are going to end up planning fields, and this could be areas where we put chickens later. They're not chickens in this game, they're red tails, and there's the new like heron. I don't remember what it's called, but it looks like a heron to me. You have the armadillos and the capybaras that you might also want to include. The original barn, I'm probably going to place yaks, and I'm going to place goats in. If I decide that the yaks are too big and I want to give the yaks their own field, I would then probably either make it a full-on goat barn or I would make it an area for the fader to live as well. It really depends on what you need it for, what's your preference. The yaks are bigger creatures, so my style can be a lot less forgiving for them. Their beds are bigger, so you're going to get less of them. So how I might combat this in the future is digging a hole, putting all the yak beds in like a cave hole, and then having it so they have feeders above ground, so they actually come out of the cave to come eat. This can be a little bit finicky, and I imagine a lot of the yaks will be grumpy all the time, upset, because they'll be like, I can't path to my bed, I can't path to my food. So a lot of the time, it is more beneficial for the animals to keep them in a smaller pen anyway. And animals only breed up to the amount of beds they have now, whereas before they used to overbreed no matter what. So you can't create lag machines unless if you're placing down an abundance of beds, which I have done in the past. But I also then learned in the past about the Volca nesting material, and we will be using that in our barn build today. As it looks like hay, it looks like animal bedding. It can be used to make some really cute feeders as well. I don't know if I'll be making the feeders in specifically, but it is something we could do, thanks to Enshrouded's decorating system. So we have lots of little things we can do. A few things I think I have planned is, so we're gonna need some more pastures. I think we're gonna do a windmill, and we're gonna combine the windmill with a river or a pond. And the concept behind this is a lot of windmills were used to basically mill grain and things like that. So I think it's the perfect aesthetic to go along with a farm build. I'm thinking we also maybe do a compost heap, a tool shed, maybe we want to add a wood pile, maybe a greenhouse as well. We're going to need an area for our altar to go. I think we're gonna make a gazebo type thing. I have a style in mind, I've made it before, and I think a gazebo would be a great entrance for the altar, where maybe you're, based off where I've already placed the altar, the altar is probably going to remain there. But you'll have a good view of the barn. And we can probably add some more like fields around that. Maybe we want more pastures, we'll see at the time. We'll probably add some farm stands around to maybe people are coming to the farm to buy stuff. We're really in the planning stages still, and we'll probably remain in the planning stages until the build is done. So currently I believe this is a level 3 altar area. It might be a level 2, I don't quite remember, but I know it's not maxed out. And because of this, there is definitely some areas that will need to be terraformed again later on. A lot of this will probably be re-terraformed later on as I'm adding specific things in that area. Right now, we're just trying to see where we want to put stuff. So we're putting down some paths so that where we put stuff starts to make sense. But there is a huge space in the altar that it still doesn't have paths. We've only built on one side of it currently to basically allow us to expand later on, or maybe we just want to put fields over there. We'll see. I don't remember if Enshrouded has a built-in plow. If not, we might have a little play around and try and make our own. I think it might though. Not entirely sure. We might build a hay barn or a silo. We won't really be building our own well due to the fact that Enshrouded comes with a built-in well, so we'll probably just place that down somewhere. I think we'll have one near the animal barns, and then we'll have one near the fields. That makes sense to me. I feel like having multiple is better than having none. We might do a orchard. I'm not quite sure, but we have a lot of sort of decoration ideas, and I'm still looking for suggestions. So, if there's anything you'd really like to see, please leave it in the comments. Please let me know. So, when I'm recording, I can't always hear the Enshrouded rain, but when I go back and I edit, I'm always like, oh, it was raining here, because it's a lot louder in my editing software than I have it for when I'm actually playing the game. As when I'm building, I'm generally listening to a podcast or something. I specifically listen to a lot of Blood on the Clock Tower stuff at the moment. Ever since Yogscast started doing their Blood in the Clock Tower in Minecraft, I have been hopelessly addicted. I absolutely love it. I often watch the No Rolls Bard version. I think Good Time Society also has a version. And then you have like I think he's renamed it to like, it's like the Blood on a Clock Tower official channel or something now. Don't quite remember. But I often watch those. For those of you who don't know what Blood on the Clock Tower is, it's a social deduction game for up to 5 to 20 players at a time, and at least one storyteller. Low-key, I want to see a 20-player game, because I think the max I've seen is a 10-player game, but I can imagine the chaos in a 20-player game. That it would go crazy. It would go giga hard. I really want to see that at some point. So basically you have a good and you have an evil team. The good team wins when they execute the head of the evil team, also known as the demon. And evil wins if the demon stays alive till the final few players. I think it's like 2 to 3 remaining players. And the players can be either alignment. They can be good or evil. I just think it's a really cool game, and I'd love to actually play it one day rather than just watching it, although I feel like I would prefer to be a storyteller. I would most definitely fuck it up though. But the chaos would be fun. The chaos would be giga fun. I have also been looking for new roguelikes. So far, I found one that is similar, but not the same as Hades. It's called, I think, Cinder or Cinderella type thing. It's kind of a twisted fairy tale vibe. But it's really cool. And if you enjoyed Hades, it's definitely worth a shot. It's still pretty heavily in development right now, and I believe so maybe just wishlist it if you're not into early access games. I'm pretty numb to the early access slop at this point. as I can either be really easy to please or really difficult to please. Survival games are generally one of the areas I tend to get let down in the most. But I feel like every survival game I've played is early access other than Minecraft, so it is what it is. My favorite character in Cinder is the Frost character, although I hate her parry mechanics, as I suck at parry mechanics in any game. I don't understand why every game needs a parry skill check now. It's not fun. Like, it's fine for big boss battles, but that normal mob I'm hitting, I shouldn't need to parry that. It's bullshit. Complete bullshit when you need to, like, parry the weakest mob in the game. For, like, big boss battles, it's like, get good, nerd. As long as it doesn't have a bunch of ads in the boss fight. But parry mechanics are just not for me. I fail at blocking attacks half the time, which is a major skill issue, but I never claim to be good. And it's one of the reasons I hate the fact that every game is going, oh, I'm going to add a parry skill check now. Maybe I didn't want a skill check. Maybe I wanted a chill mode. Why can't the parry skill check come in hardcore mode or something like that? Like, I understand it's a thing in, like, Elden Ring, but why does every game have to be Elden Ring difficulty now? They also have a summoner character who I obviously did the best on, as I am a huge summon nerd in games, and because the AI is smarter than me, as well as usually tankier than me. I love games where you can, like, customize your summons though, which roguelikes kind of do, because you get, like, relics, or the equivalent to, like, a relic that can, like, enhance your summons in a certain way, or you get, like, different summons on a different run. But I really like the idea of a skill check for summons being that you have to build them correctly rather than you just get them and you're suddenly OP, because I feel like that's not too fun. But I'm sure you can tell based off that I am, like, a little bit, not much, I'm not good at Path of Exile, but I'm a little bit of a Path of Exile nerd, and them adding back, like, the new mercenaries is, like, in the Luminary Ascendancy is like, ooh, I love that. I'm more of a PoE 2 nerd than I am a PoE 1. I suck at both. I blatantly suck at both. But I definitely prefer PoE 2 overall. Although the new Mercenary, like Mercenary League and Luminary Ascendancy, might push it over the edge for me, because like, your mercenary is basically a summon, right? And you really get to customize it, and there's some real min-maxing you can do there, and I love that. It just goes hard for me. I absolutely love that. Obviously it never feels good when something is dog shit, but I don't care. I really don't care. I am so happy a lot of the time that I got to have a summon, and I really like customizable summons. So if it's like, yeah, it's weak, it can do, like, barely the shittiest content, it's like, I hope it gets fixed in the future, but it is what it is. Like, if you're not having a great time, you just swap and you just take what you get. But I wish more games did customizable summons. It would be really cool. I don't even think PoE overall, other than the mercenaries, does customizable summons too well. Like, you have support gens, but in reality, it's just the same fucking summon. I wish I could customize all the skill effects, stuff like that, and that rather than them going, you can go tame any mob in the game, it's like you could make your summon do specific skills and stuff like that, which I guess the mercenary is now. But you have to go and hunt for the mercenary, whereas I feel like I'd rather have to dump currency items in some cases into it to like reroll the mercenary skills when you get like a shit roll at the beginning of the game. You can't kill other mercenaries with your mercenary because you didn't want to spend like 7 hours in Axe farming a mercenary. Sometimes you get really lucky and you get the one you want instantly. Other times you just get fucked over. And that sucks, but it is what it is. I don't mind that much as it's part of the game. But I feel like it just should have been a little bit of a quality of life thing. But you know what? In PoE 1, you can accidentally delete your specters, so it is what it is. I did that this league, and I was very upset because I thought they fixed it. They haven't. So when you're respecking stats, you can still delete your summons, and it sucks. I didn't realize. I will never be making that mistake again. Surely I will be making that mistake again. I'll make it every single league I play anything that utilizes summons, and I'm so happy that PoE 2 doesn't have that bullshit system. But it is what it is. I saw the PoE 2 announcement trailer last night. It looks cool. I'm not gonna play swords, but it looks cool. I'm sure they'll have lots of content for me to play in 1.0. I'm a big fan of Ultimatum, which everyone else hates, but I like it, so I don't know, fuck you guys. I want them to keep it. It's like, everyone complains about it being like how you get your ascendancy. It's not that hard. It's genuinely not that hard. Once you've played a few hours of Ultimatum, probably not about the 200 hours of Ultimatum I've played. It's been, because no one plays it, it's been a really good currency strat for me. Apart from when Temple was a thing, Temple completely gutted it, but it's okay, they've gutted Temple now. But yeah, ultimatums are generally really easy to do. In my experience, I can probably beat an ultimatum at most, like, I beat it in campaign with no issues most of the time. There's been like a few times where you just get screwed over on mods and you're like, okay, go next. That can be frustrating. I think for hardcore players, it's probably the most frustrating. Because in that context, I'm like, yeah, that sucks. But I don't think Sanctum is any better in that retrospect. But I suck at dodging traps, so I just know how to make ultimatums as easy as possible for myself. And it feels like kind of a mini roguelike adventure to me. And ultimatums in PoE 2 are not as hard as PoE 1. You barely die to random bullshit. But I feel like that's because they don't scale into endgame that well right now. So with even like the shittiest build, you can clear ultimatums at like endgame. Because they just don't scale. You have like the harder duplicating like money ultimatums. They're not usually worth it, in my experience. They can be cool, but I drop normally just as many divines doing normal ultimatums, because ones that duplicate divines and stuff like that often cost divines to buy. And I don't do Trial Master myself, because the money you make in ultimatum actually comes from selling basically the Trial Master key. I do Trial Master once to get my 4th Ascendancy, and then I don't do Trial Master again. Unless we do Private League, then I do Trial Master. I just save up keys to do a big lot of Trial Master runs. Trial Master is actually pretty easy to do. I think all my builds have been able to do it. I've always played Ultimatum with like, not always, I've played it with like an AFK Simulacrum build before. That was easy. It takes forever. But I normally play it with like a summon build. Molten Crash Druid Form Bear though, one of my favorite builds that isn't a summon build. I'm sure you noticed a while ago I started using basically the terrain tool to start mapping out the paths. So soon we're gonna have like a big destruction setting where I get rid of all the like white like temporary blocks, and you'll see like the lovely paths we ended up with. I kind of hate how the terrain tools aren't allowed to clip to the edge of the terrain when you get there. It's not a major issue, but I feel like it should be allowed to. I chose the granite rubble block here. I think I might have already said, but I chose it because I really liked the dirt look, and I like the dirt combined with stone look. And it's a bit more of a vibrant dirt than the dirt path. Is it vibrant? Maybe it's more saturated? I can't remember the proper term for it. Went to art college and don't even remember the basics. Probably in the coming days, what I'm gonna do is, I learned from a chisel chip video, there's a setting you can do to basically turn off vegetation and some of the like little extras on the voxels, so you can more easily see where the terrain blocks and paths end. I feel like I should go through and redo that because it might actually allow me to customize the terrain a bit more. Because right now, occasionally I'm just learning I have like terrain in weird places that's causing weird clipping, and I don't quite understand it. I know it's happened from when I've been playing with the rake. I just don't particularly know why the rake is so awkward. A lot of people go, it's easy. No, it's not. Leveling, the leveling tool in any game is one of the most annoying things to ever deal with, and I hate it in any game. I hate it in Valheim, hate it in Windows, and I hate it in Enshrouded. It doesn't change. So I'll probably just have to go and do a more 1x1 block placement stuff. I might do it with the 1 meter cubes rather than the 0.5 meter cubes, but we'll see. I probably won't. I can already tell that people are looking at me destroying all of this and going, that looks giga tedious, I don't want to do that. And it's like, it's actually quite therapeutic, quite fun, and I actually really enjoy it. Because it's not like Minecraft where you have to break a block, right, and wait a few seconds. It's literally instant. It's like if you're breaking blocks in creative mode in Minecraft. It's really chill. I also really like the sound effects in this game. The like breaking block sound effect, the placing block sound effect. It's really nice. I slightly base on how to do my cuts in my videos based on the place and the breaking sound effect. Just because occasionally there's like long pauses and I'm like, I don't know where to cut this, so I'm gonna base it a bit off the audio because I can see where the audio peaks when I've placed a block. So it can be really good for understanding a little bit of, oh, this is like a 2-minute gap before I place the next thing. I gotta cut that down, which is why sometimes my edits can feel a little bit jump cutty. It's quite literally, when I was playing, I was taking like 2-minute breaks, or probably not 2-minute breaks, but even 30 seconds to decide where I was gonna place the next thing. And I promise you that's worse to watch. I could leave it in if people really wanted me to. But these videos would be quite a lot longer if I did. And yeah. I think here we're just coming up to around where I start, or I think I'm done. Yeah. No, I'm not done. There we go. Basically this is where I'm done getting rid of those temporary blocks. And this is actually the point from where I started the first share world download for Enshrouded. Because I was like, I'm gonna take a break for a bit, but so that I don't forget, I'm gonna put up the share world download. I then updated that download later that night because I'd done more progress on it. So at the time of the video coming out, you will have the end of the video version of the build on the world download. And then I think tomorrow I'm probably going to be editing the hightail video, which is like 6 hours worth of footage. Wish me luck. And then I will be going back to Enshrouded and adding some things in Enshrouded. I don't know what I'm gonna add yet, but I feel like I shouldn't do another video just dedicated to like the paths and terrains. I should actually build something. So I would like to know what people want me to build, but I don't think I'm gonna get enough traction on this video. We'll see. I might. If I don't put people off with my massive PoE summon ramble bit. Going back to roguelikes that I like, I'm really waiting for Hellcard 2. I love the first Hellcard. Me and my partner played it a bunch. I have about 500 hours in it. I absolutely love and recommend it. I've been playing a new game that is a similar concept to it, but not really. Actually, really not really when I think about it. It's like a harder game strategy deck roguelike again, but it plays differently to Hellcard. It's called ndQEMCQbVUet, and if you really like creature collectors, I think you'll like it. It's a bit more the art style is a bit more on the horror theming side. But I think the creatures are really cool. And it's been really fun. There has definitely been some learning curves, and I have definitely accidentally bricked some runs by using the golden syringe, extracting all my monster traits, and then not putting them back in the monsters before you leave the golden syringe menu, because I was like, oh, they're just gonna go into my bag, and they didn't, and I slightly wish that was made a bit clearer, but that's not their fault. So recently I've been looking at a lot of chisel chip videos as a part of content creation and making new builds is learning and checking out what others do. And something I've noticed is he has a really similar roofing style to me, but he generally uses terrain blocks instead of roofing blocks. I wonder if I should start using this method. There is one issue with it though. And it's if you wander too far away, terrain blocks usually disappear into the ether for me. But I do love the look of the roof he makes up close. And the terrain blocks have better like meshing for the roof styles I create and he creates, it seems. The roof blocks meshing is a little janky and it also varies on roof block to roof block and what looks good. I think plant fiber tends to be really generous with how it looks, whereas some of the others are not so generous and can look very janky, whereas others are like, this looks okay. It's a little bit weird. If you would like to see this, maybe suggest some terrain blocks that you would like to see on some roofs. I should probably make some video references for all these things later on. I know Chill and Build or something has a reference video for all the blocks in Enshrouded and all the roof types. But there are definitely some areas where I need extra references because his roof types don't cover my roofing style, which is like, this isn't accurate in degrees, but gives you like some reference on the type of roofs I make, like 26, 60 degree type roofing. The degree isn't exact or anything, but anything that isn't like the standard like roofing system the game supports really clearly, which is like one block up type thing. Enshrouded kind of has a roofing problem where you can't make any too interesting roof shapes without a little bit of scuff, at least. Some roofing blocks are worse than others. But I like doing like the Minecrafty style roofs because then you can create really nice barn roofs, which a lot of people don't create because, well, the normal tools that Enshrouded gives you can't achieve this. You can only achieve it through the one block method, which is fine. I feel like maybe they should change that, but I don't know how they would. I feel like the only way to achieve it would be the one block method. But the Enshrouded community is giga talented overall. Like it's not like it's limited anyone that much. It's just, I know maybe some of the more casual players don't get to see that many varied roof typings because of this. It's yeah, I don't know. I also previously stated that I could use like a reference point for plants and trees so that I know how much space they will require when like fully grown when decorating, as the seedlings aren't always a clear indicator of how big something is going to be. The icon they have in game isn't an indicator, and oh no, I don't have memorized every single plant that's in Enshrouded to what would be a realistic value for this to be. Like with the mushrooms and stuff, some of that is like bigger than it would be in real life anyway. But you don't have a strong indicator how stuff will look when it's fully grown, like how much space it's gonna take up. So, and the wiki is really unhelpful for this generally. The wiki is also really unhelpful for blocks because the lighting they're shown in is a bit weird. I should also probably do this for the decor in the game at some point. I'm setting tasks for myself to do that I will probably never do. But I'm sure people will remind me and I'll get to it, or I'll get annoyed and I'll want to do like a simple video or something and I'll do it. There'll be a lot of trips to the Shroud depot, I guess. My partner joined it to help me out the other day with transporting some mats, and the first thing he said was, "Oh my god, it's an IKEA," and just started laughing. It's a giga cool build. It's really well made, and they generally have a bunch of stuff on display. With the building blocks, it's really nice because it's a way better reference than the wiki, because you get to see it in not necessarily natural lighting, it's indoors, but you get to see it within the game's lighting rather than a big blue light over it, which changes how stuff can look because color theory. It's a really good place. That not all the decor is on display and stuff, but a majority of it is. I don't know if it's fully updated, and it's not going to be updated on 1.0 release, obviously, because they have to spend time to go and get all the resources. Like, it's a community-run server, it's not run by the devs. I kind of hope the devs will give them some tools at some point so they can easily get stuff, but it is what it is. I've also, through wandering around the halls of like the Shroud Depot, I've legitimately learned that there is new stuff in the game. Like, there's a deposit item now. Like, you go to this, like, the best way I can describe it is pressure plate, but not pressure plate. And it gives you like a quick stack option for all your magic chests, I think. I'm not sure how it works, but I noticed it was a thing. And that's really cool. Have you guys used the board share system yet? I now have something uploaded to it, but I haven't actually visited anything yet. I really should though, so I can go examine stuff and learn how the talented Enshrouded builders have like done stuff, and then like steal their ideas and use it for my own projects and my own causes. I want to see how people decorate paths and make use of the like extensive decoration system that Enshrouded has to offer. I also want to see the really cool statues people have made. I wish I was talented enough to make a giga cool statue, but I'm not. Thinking about this makes me think about the fact that I should also learn how to actually work with water. I wanna make like a cute little river with a pond and maybe a windmill, but I need to check how big the water wheel and the windmill parts are before I like start on anything concrete. But maybe I could add like a cute little fish's hut as well. I'm not really sure if all that could sit inside one altar range though. Like a level 4 altar is pretty big, but I don't know if it's big enough. I also have one fear about building a windmill, and that is the Windrose Lighthouse incident, where I lose my mind for 4 weeks and then finally end up with something usable. And then I just make another barn and be like, okay, this is 100 times better, and be happier with life, and then depressed that the lighthouse doesn't look as good. It's my own fault though. It's a limited ability to make certain things because I haven't built them enough. Valheim has its 1.0 release soon, you guys excited for that? I have about 500 hours in Valheim currently, and 90% of that being modded. So I'm a little unsure how I feel about 1.0 release. It looks like it will be cool. It also feels a bit surreal that it's finally happening. And kind of annoying that every single 1.0 release is happening this year, because it kind of feels like, what do I have to look forward to now? It's not like I have to play them all at once, it's just that fear of missing out hits your brain, because they're all so closely tied together. Like, they're all one after each other, and it's kind of annoying. But I also suppose we have a lot of new and upcoming survival games, such as like Windrose, Solarpunk, and Witchfire, just off the top of my head, which I think are all in early access right now. Although I didn't have the best experience in Witchfire last time, I do really think I believe in that game and expect it to go giga far. It looks like the dev team are really receptive to feedback, and they've been updating the game constantly, and it looks promising. Although I think I have burnt out all my friends and even my partner from playing survival games for now. So with that, I'm probably doing exclusively creative building sessions and gameplay for a while because of this. Although I did hear that Tiny Lead is getting like a massive update. So I feel a little spoiled this year so far. One game I don't think I'll be revisiting personally for its 1.0 release is Dragon Wilds. I just don't think I was the target audience for that game, as to me it didn't feel fleshed out. Its 1.0 release being this year feels kind of rushed. It's a shame, because it's one of the few survival games that owns a creative mode. I feel like because of this, I really should have given it a bit more time. But I can definitely say I don't think I'll be revisiting the survival experience like ever. I think at least it had really cheap servers. Because Enshrouded servers aren't cheap, Minecraft servers aren't cheap. But that just comes a little bit with how intensive they are to run, as well as the popularity. When stuff is more popular, I feel like it gets expensive pretty fast, because the game hosting servers know they can charge a bit of a premium for it. It's not a huge issue. I'm playing like Enshrouded on a single player save, but I do like having servers when I'm playing with friends so that they can jump in as much as they like, although I tend to play a ton more than them anyway, so it's not like it matters. You might see that I went a little bit ham on the fertile revelwood dirt, and it's because I really like, I don't know what to call it, but in my head I call it fluffy grass. I really like the fluffy grass look. I don't know why. Other people might think it's giga excessive, but you know what? I like what I like, and I'm sure I'll change it later anyway. Quite literally, as I'm recording this, VoiceOver Enshrouded just dropped a video on their performance improvements, and I love it. I don't understand a single thing they are saying, but oh my god, they are fixing the pixel art issue. Kinda. Like, holy. It's actually so amazing. Like, oh my god, it's so wonderful of them. So many of like the community builds are they're gonna look so epic now. they're gonna be able to be actually viewed from a distance. It's so good. It won't really impact me too much, but it's gonna be so epic. It's like actually gonna be so epic. It's gonna be really good for immersion and like world building. The world in general is just it's gonna look fabulous, especially when you're like climbing a giant mountain. The Enshrouded devs, they never cease to amaze me. It's actually wonderful. I imagine this will be like a performance hit overall. I don't really know, since I don't understand all the technical jargon and the what have you, but it's still hype. He looked really good in the video, by the way. Like, if you haven't checked it out, I recommend you check out the video like immediately. It's so good. I'm so hyped. They mentioned like lighting, they're changing shadows and stuff like that to like up the performance and things like that. So I'm so hyped. But it's so good. It's so good. It's really good of them to do like, hey, we're not just thinking about all the new stuff we're gonna give in 1.0 release. We're gonna give you some performance upgrades, and performance upgrades are really lovely. I feel like a lot of games don't do enough of them, so I really appreciate them doing a whole separate video for just as performance upgrades. Like, that is huge. So all the like game announcements are happening right now, and Hoyoverse just announced a new game called Noticeful, and genuinely it's a moment like, oh, so that's where all the gacha money went? It looks epic. I've seen the gameplay footage, and the controls are like normal gacha controls, which I expected. But the moveset kind of reminds me of a mix between Wuwa and Night Rain. I think everyone has jumped on the train of instantly comparing it to Elden Ring and just immediately saying it's gacha Elden Ring, which isn't totally wrong, but I think they're comparing it to the wrong game. That's literally set in the same universe. Like, everything about it screams Night Rain to me, rather than Elden Ring, which I guess they're the same concept, right? But they're kind of not. I've also heard it compared to Monster Hunter, to be fair, but I haven't really played enough of Monster Hunter to make like a fair comparison. You can only really compare something and find similarities in games that you've played or at least watched, after all. Like, so I don't know. It just screams Night Rain to me, especially when you consider like how different Night Rain's combat was compared to the normal Elden Ring. Like, it had the bases of normal Elden Ring, right? But it was already a bit sort of gachified in the combat system, which I guess is now just the really standard action combat system. But when I think of it, I always think of gacha games, because even Where Winds Meet is basically a gacha game in my mind, which uses the same sort of combat system. But yeah, from what I understand right now, it's going to be co-op, and that's like amazing. I've been like yearning for a co-op game. I played seamless co-op for Elden Ring, and any game that has co-op is like miles better for me. I'm already like waiting for the Crimson Desert co-op that is supposed to be coming, and I don't see why Crimson Desert won't get co-op, especially since Pelibus have already made an MMO in the past. I don't see co-op being too beyond them. I don't know why they didn't release it at first, but I think they wanted to make the point that it is not an MMO and it was never and they wanted to make that clear, and they wanted the reviews to reflect that. I think it should have released with co-op though. I don't think, for the amount of development time they spent on the game, it had a reason to go, oh, we'll just add the co-op a bit later. But from what I understand, Noticeful is also going to be free to play. And if it's free to play, that kind of means it's probably going to be a gacha in some sense. At least it will be a where wins meet type of gacha. But also it's free to play, which means you're going to realistically try it anyway and see what they came up with. Maybe you don't stay, and that's completely fine. It's 100% valid not to stay for a game because you're like, oh, it's gacha and I don't support that. 100% valid. But yeah, I also assume because it's free to play, probably going to be gacha, that it will also be a live service. I kind of wish that it wasn't, but you know what? If the co-op is great, then I really don't care. One thing I noticed from the gameplay I saw is the ults, and specifically the dark bow user's ult. The ult looks amazing, but it has no right to be a Millennia caster on a bow user, in my opinion, which makes me think the ults will be customizable, similar to Echoes and Wooer, where maybe you collect the bosses in the game and you turn them into your ult to empower you, along those lines. I didn't really play Genshin or like Honkai Star Rail, so I don't really have reference points for how Hoyo versus handled this in the past or previously, but I think in some aspect the ults are going to be customizable, and something tells me they're going to be bosses. I could be completely wrong, and that could actually be where the gacha mechanic comes in. Oh god, that'd be terrifying. But apparently each character is meant to be really customizable, which means in my head, somewhere in there is a gacha mechanic. Especially if it's a free-to-play game. It's just gonna happen. So I am definitely going into this game expecting gacha mechanics and expecting pay-to-win elements, but from what I've heard, they've stated there won't be character banners and that you unlock characters through progression. And the unlock system, the progression unlock, it reminds me so much of Night Rain. I don't know why I haven't heard more like Night Rain comparisons over Elden Ring. But naturally, if you think of Night Rain combat, it is already more similar to the combat shown in the gameplay footage I have seen, as well as the classic gacha combat, and more so live action combat in general these days. It's becoming pretty standard for live and action combat. Although I would love to see a live action game with a more complicated skill system, such as like a Black Desert Online. But the current skill systems are fine. There's no reason to change them. I just like the mobility that Black Desert has compared to other games, and that's the only thing I care about. I don't actually care about you have like 2 or 3 damage moves. I care about the mobility, because for me, the mobility can keep you immersed in the combat for longer, and it really keeps the adrenaline pumping if you have something to do that is movement based when all your other skills are basically on cooldown. You have to think about like your movement skills. Like I don't think movement has to be exclusively like your iframe. I think it can just be you want to get to the other side of the arena as fast as possible. But yeah, it's not something most games do. It's not like a priority. It's just something I think is really cool. And it's one area that I think Black Desert did really well. But I know a lot of people don't like the combat in that game. But I also know the people who have played it kind of swear by the combat in that game. So it's like, eh. I also really enjoyed the combat in Wua. And the Night Ring combat was also generally fine. So I do expect to enjoy Lotus Fall's combat. I have no reference for the release date of the game, but maybe if I'm hyped enough and I have no friends, I'll stream the game to not feel so alone. I heard the game will have some solo compatibility, but I currently have no reference for how far that will go and if I will have to play with randoms. If I have to play with randoms, I have to play with randoms. It is what it is. That's generally how you make new friends anyway. You play with randoms, they hate you and shame you for not playing well enough, and then you become friends. It's a little bit silly that seeing the gameplay trailer has made me want to load up Wua again, because I'm like, ooh, I really want to play that kind of combat again. I never really got addicted to gachas, but they've always been a nice pastime when I'm like waiting for a release date or burnt out on a bunch of games. They tend to be, I can take them at whatever pace I like, and I've really enjoyed that. I know people will disagree with me because gachas is the main thing they play and they get tied up in a lot of daily locks and things like that, but I might play them for like a couple hours here and then, so I don't really have that. I just find that the combat is nice, I enjoy the combat, but they're not my main type of games. My main type of games tends to be survival games or things that I can really delve into co-op on. And probably one of the main reasons I got so heavily into survival games in the first place was the co-op, because you got to play with your friends. And now I'm like, ooh, I love building, so I'm going to play it alone, even if I have no friends with me. But it's I'm really happy to see that it seems to be a co-op focused game is coming out that isn't just like the friend slop genre, because I never really resonated with that genre, and that's fine. People like different things, but I'm so happy for just anything that's like, you can join your friends. So I'm really hyped for this game, and I'm really hyped for the Crimson Desert co-op. I haven't bought Crimson Desert yet. I will wait for the co-op, see how it is before I commit to that game. But obviously, because this game will be free to play, I will be playing it on probably launch, we'll see. I saw the system requirements and holy is it gonna take up space. I think you needed 100 gig for it. Which makes me feel like, maybe I'm gonna need a new SSD, and I'm like, I don't want to buy stuff. But well, we'll see what happens. I can probably just delete some games that I'm not playing too much at the time. But yeah, it's something I am in particular really looking forward to. So I saw the, what do you call it? The animated trailer that Valheim released now, which has now sort of spiked me to go into, oh, let's talk a little bit about Valheim again. But isn't it crazy that Valheim has been in early access for, I think it's about 5 years now, and already has a pretty legendary status within the survival game community? And I feel like we've gotten a lot of bangers in other aspects because of that. I definitely wouldn't have played Enshrouded if I hadn't have played Valheim first. Like, Valheim was effectively my gateway drug, which is funny because I've played Minecraft before. But Minecraft didn't get me into survival games. I've always considered it a little bit of a standalone. Like, everyone will be like, well, Minecraft is a sandbox. But it still has a survival mode, and most building games become most survival games become a sandbox at endgame. It's just Minecraft tends to have significantly lower content to other survival games in the genre, I feel like, because people really went ham on the building side, creating their own games and the modding scene, that the developers themselves didn't really need to create too much for that community for years. They have been recently. I feel like we've slowly been getting spoiled with content in that game. The issue is, the more content they add, the more the base game won't be viable for like lower NPCs. Modded has always never been really viable for lower NPCs. It's always been extensive. But I always like the fact that the base game basically runs on fucking anything. But yeah, I'm super hyped for the Deep North and 1.0 release. I'm super excited for all the build pieces we'll get, especially. But I adore snowy biomes in any game, and I really don't know why I don't build in snow biomes more. I really should. I think that's a project I need to add to the list. Maybe not a Nordic theme though, although Nordic theming is pretty good, and it is kind of adjacent theming to where I am already most comfortable. So we'll see what we end up with. Maybe it'll be Nordic themed, maybe it'll be loosely Nordic themed, maybe it won't. But okay, so on Valheim 1.0 release, we probably go for some Deep North builds and finally expand on my building catalog above just barn and some medieval builds. You can't really hide behind all those plants in a winter biome though, or can I? Because I could always create some like interesting lore about a witch in the area that allows nature to prosper in like the coldest of environments. In my head, how she would achieve this would be really gruesome and in like sort of a self-sacrifice way. She would basically be an immortal creature and like the sovereign of the land. But she is not considered all-powerful and is a creature that generally avoids ruling over her land, as over time, being immortal, she just decided it was a headache and she just didn't want to. She would probably be known to be a healer and probably a summoner by birthright. I think she would mostly be known as a healer, but I think she would, through the art of maybe being the sovereign of the land, she gets access to summons, because defending yourself as a healer seems kind of like the world stacked against you, and eventually you gotta at least trick some souls into like helping you the fuck out. But I think it would also be cool that she wouldn't necessarily be good at wielding other weapons, but just because of her long existence, she knows how to, and she likes to go because, I don't know, maybe she appears young, maybe she just goes as like an older figure who you're like, that person doesn't know what they're doing or something like that, to like the training schools and like shows up the other students because she's immortal, she's bored, but she doesn't necessarily want to go around killing stuff. I don't think she necessarily needs to be good at wielding anything. I just think it's funny that like she's bored, needed something to do, let's go troll some kids. That feels like something an immortal god who has nothing better to do might do. I like the idea that she's like wielded basically every weapon and has been the deciding factor on, okay, this weapon is a bit too strong, let's fucking bury this in the dirt and never let it see the light of day again. I like the reference point being like, she felt she was too strong with the weapon, so she was like, okay, no one gets to have this now. Which is like kind of how the meta in games plays out with people. It's like people are like, I want to keep this because I'm like the strongest person in the world with this, and then you have the other people like, you guys are too strong. This needs to be buried. I think it's just kind of a funny concept of like, how would you do that in like accurate game lore? And I like the idea of being, you just go, no one gets to play with this new toy anymore. I do like the idea of like, despite her being a healer and her main way to like keep her lands fed is to sacrifice herself. But she wouldn't be able to heal herself. Because if you are able to heal yourself, well, that makes the sacrifice fucking worthless. So I like the idea that like, in some way she, despite being immortal, immortality isn't like how we'd envision it. You still die, you're basically instantly resurrected and you gain like a curse. I'm not entirely sure. It's just like a funny little gimmick. I like the idea of a world based on power only being able to be gained from some sort of sacrifice, and the sacrifice coming from a form of like inflicting curses on yourself in order to gain the equivalent in power. And I think generally, because everyone normally would consider immortality as like a blessing, and in this world it wouldn't be any different, but the reality would be it's like the biggest curse ever, because you can't escape your curses, and rather than pure immortality, you do actually die. You're just like resurrected instantly in like a safe place, at least, with a different curse, and each time you die the severity of the curse scales. And obviously no world is fair, and some may need to wield less curses for power, or I like to think of a really just evil and unfair system of where people can stack their curses on others, and this is how majority of like even what are considered the good aligned like people in the world do to maintain a version of power. I feel like the only fair way to do this is that if people are like tricked in with contracts and stuff like that, and I like the idea of contracts being a basis for this, maybe you take something from the person that you are making a contract with, and in exchange they get to load up curses on you. Sort of like, I guess, a warlock sort of situation in D&D, but not really. I'm not entirely sure. But the consequence of using others is that you would no longer have control over how long you held on to the power you gained from that other person having curses, as the power and blessings you would have like gained from their curses is completely tied to their mortality. So if that other person dies because they have no blessing of their own, you're just like, you're suddenly a whole lot weaker than you were. And I think that's hilarious, because it would become so much more of like a social game, like a social like hierarchy thing as well, of like, you've actually lost power but you can't let anyone know. And I think that would generally be how the Sovereign came into play, that the immortality curse was brought to life not only with her. There would be, I think, others in the world, but I think she would be the only one to embrace it. And she would basically take the contracts and use them to trick those into who wanted power into becoming her companion or having some sort of deal with her for a period of time. And I like to think of the fact that she can forge contracts, and it's the one blessing she's taken out that her contracts could never be broken or something like that. There would be something that protects her and allows her to make such contracts with devious people or power-hungry people. But she would do it because she is already so far gone from the life she strives for like a peaceful and powerless life. That's already been removed from the cards for her by the people who created her, by whoever forced immortality upon her. Her existence is kind of a mockery of fate, and so specifically she takes out some stuff on her curses to make herself a viable creature in the world. But there's always a curse there that she can't get rid of. Once she's obtained a curse, it's there forever. She can't get rid of it, and that's one of the prices of the immortality she has, even though she didn't ask for it. Her life will always get worse in some way, and she can never fix it. So, like many creatures, she tends to live her life throughout others. That's generally what her contracts would be for. But I like the idea of interactions with her are generally deemed as like positive. She's not deemed as like a cruel figure. She's just deemed as an unfortunate figure, and those closest to her use her as maybe a cautionary tale. But I like the idea of maybe she's never fully grown up, or she's just given up on the idea of being fully grown up. Because she's been there, she's done that, she realized it wasn't fun and just went, I'm gonna live anyway, so what does it matter? Obviously, this is all just like ramblings from my head. I don't think many people would like enjoy the tales of those lands, or enjoy how I would like tell the tale. But people do tend to love a dark fantasy, and I'd love to get better at world building in particular and add a bit more purpose to my builds, so I could think of what to build next. And maybe one day I will become the architect of my dreams, and in any game be able to build like a fully fleshed out world building mess to life. I'd love to design like specifically altars and have them as a huge theming through like pinnacle areas in my builds in the future, and that being like my staple of every KC, every support player build comes with an inbuilt altar. But like, and I don't really like talk about the lore or too much of the reasoning for the altar's existence there. I just like the idea of it exists and alludes to like a time before. I think it's a cool idea. I like the idea of having like different altars that aren't necessarily based on religion or anything like that. They had a purpose, but no one knows the purpose. People are just wary of them. They're like a cautionary tale, but everyone forgot the fucking tale. I like that idea. It's funny because obviously when you think about altars in Enshrouded, you're going to think about the flame altars. And I don't like the idea of that being like, oh, well, that you already have an altar, you have a flame altar in your build. I think that would be very boring. I do think that maybe you could make the idea of the altars are near the original. I wonder how I would do an altar in this build. Maybe it would be like tucked away in a cave, right? So it's not like a main staple, it's not the reason you visit this build, but it's here and it's buried. and it's buried for a good reason. It's like a tale that's never told. I also kind of like the fact that this spot is really near the shroud as well, because you could definitely make some tale up about it, being like, maybe it's where the shroud started originating from. Something that isn't based in like the actual lore of the game, because I mean, the actual lore of the game would be vastly different to a build of your own. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a cool idea. It's a way to really find out what you want to build next. Because you should always strive to be somewhat passionate about your building projects. Although when you're in a survival setting, I would say, if you're playing with friends, you can be passionate about your builds, but always try and do it in a timely manner. Don't go, oh, I want to build today, and then spend 6 hours building, but not actually spending time with your friends. If you can build when they're offline. If you have very little time, obviously hang out with your friends and build. I'm not saying don't build ever. Also be conscious of your friends' time, and that if they're playing the game and they're not building, they probably are playing the game because they want to play it with you. Or they're someone who likes having a base hermit, so they don't have to do all the base stuff. You know your friends best, but it's just something I've noticed, that I base hermit quite a lot, and I feel like sometimes my friends don't get to do the progression they wanted because they wait for me. And I wish they wouldn't, because a lot of the time I'm not interested in the gameplay aspects, and I will tell you if I'm like, oh, I'll come and pick up here. Because a lot of the time, if you're a base hermit, you've still gained XP whilst being in the base. And I've played a bunch of these survival games, I don't mind skipping the early game progression. But yeah, I have now rambled until the end of the video, so I greatly appreciate everyone who has stuck around, and I hope I will see you in the next one. But we'll see what ends up happening. Thank you so much for sticking around. As you can see, I am just desperately removing some of the plants here. So I will leave you with that, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you guys so much for joining.